Today we're going to be talking about one of my many obsessions, and that is Shades EQ, the absolute best product for previously colored hair when you either want to glaze, you want to refresh, you want to add some shine. So stay tuned. As we reviewed before, there's 3 zones to the hair, but let's take a look at them one more time really quickly. Zone 1, anything from the scalp to about 1.5 inches away from the head or virgin hair. Zone 2 then is anything from the mid-lengths all the way to the ends. And zone 3 are those ends that are a little bit compromised. They've been previously bleached, colored, maybe they have some mechanical damage. The client doesn't want to cut them, but she would like to make sure that they look great. That's zone 3. Not everyone has a zone 3, but if you do, you want to make sure that you're using the best product. And my absolute favorite product to use on anything that's either been previously colored or we've used decolorizer on is Shades EQ by Redken. Now, Shades EQ is an amazing acidic demi-permanent hair color, and it has many, many different shades. So anything from dark, like my hair, all the way to a light glaze and including crystal clear to dilute, Shades EQ is going to be your best friend. Why? Well, because first and foremost, it's a combination of oxidative as well as direct dyes. What does that mean? It means that it's longer lasting than a temporary or a semi-permanent hair color. It lasts longer. It penetrates a little bit deeper. It also has a developer or a processing solution, as it's called specifically for Shades EQ. We've got our regular processing solution, and we have the new, a little bit thicker processing solution, which they say is for precision application. I prefer this one simply because I'm not always the cleanest colorist, but this helps me stay a little bit less messy, if you will. The idea is that it's a low hydrogen peroxide, only enough to develop the dyes that are within the bottle of Shades EQ. It doesn't have any alkaline, so there's no lifting of the cuticle, no further damage. And because it's acidic, it helps to close that cuticle back down while adding shine, dimension, glazing, or refreshing your client's hair. So I wanted to show you a little bit about Shades EQ and what I really mean by oxidative and direct dyes. So let's mix a little bit. So we're going to take this bottle that Redken has, and just for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and use the original processing solution. If you usually use a scale to measure, then use a scale. We're just sort of winging it so you can have a little bit of an insight into what this looks like. So let's pour some here. If you're not watching but you're listening, I'm not peeing. All right, and next we're going to use the fave for everyone. You know, we say when we're cooking, if you cook at home, that a sauce can make anything taste good. 09V can make any hair look good. So the V is for violet, meaning it counteracts any yellow or unwanted undertones. And we're going to go ahead and pour that in here, an equal amount with the processing solution, and set that to the side. And what I'd like for you to notice actually is that it's clear. Now that's because those dyes that are inside of the 09V are oxidative dyes. So they need the processing solution and time to develop into what they're going to become. So we just go ahead and we squeeze a little air out and we just gently shake it so that we mix it together. And we're gonna set it to the side and you're gonna see how it starts to oxidize. And in the meantime, we're gonna talk a little bit about the best practices for using Shades EQ. Here's the thing. I'm busy sometimes in the salon, I've got a lot of clients, and when I'm in this kind of rush, then I do some things that maybe it's not following the rules. I sort of liken it to learning to drive. So when I learned to drive, you had to do all of this schmickeldry, right? You had to walk around the car to make sure the tires weren't flat. You had to get in and you had to move the seat. And then you had to check the mirrors, and both hands, one at 10, one at 2. Now, after I got my license and I was driving a little bit, all hell broke loose. I'm speeding down the way, I'm eating Taco Bell burrito, I'm maybe putting my mascara on as I'm stopped at a stoplight, and that's okay so long as I knew what the rules were and what the consequences were for breaking those rules. Redken gives you some very specific rules for the processing and application of Shades EQ. Why? Well, because we have the top labs at Redken developing products for us, and they help us understand what is in the bottles and how best to use them. So typically you would want to place Shades EQ or apply Shades EQ on dry hair. Now there's many reasons why you'd want to do this. The first reason, I want to see where I'm starting, like what color am I starting with so that I formulate correctly. Do I need to lighten the formula or darken the formula? The second reason is because if there is a lot of porosity, like the ends of our friend Sarah's hair here, then it might grab differently if there's some water in there because a water molecule is quite heavy. The second thing that's really important is processing for 20 minutes. Now, as I mentioned, you can see it's starting to change colors, and that's because the oxidative dyes are developing. An oxidative dye starts out clear and colorless. It penetrates into the hair shaft, and it starts to, with time, become the dye molecule it was always meant to be, meaning it grows up, and it, in this case, is going to be a violet. Now, if I take this off before 20 minutes, what I'm risking, my consequence then, would be that it might not be as violet as I would like for it to be to counteract any of the unwanted undertones. Have I ever put Shades EQ on wet hair at the back bar for 5 minutes? Absolutely. And I probably will do it again in the future. But I also know that sometimes what I end up with is something that fades quickly and my client comes back and she needs another glaze and she's not always happy. Yeah. I don't like when they're not happy. That's a little bit about Shades EQ. It's your best friend when you're coloring the Zone 1 without an alkaline color, no matter what color line you're using. Shades EQ, acidic demi-permanent, Zones 2 and 3 is going to be your best friend, and it's going to be something that the clients come back to you for. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment down below, and of course, ask questions if you have any, and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for tuning in to Between the Sparkles.